commenced.
Hello, everybody, officially, and welcome to the Rocky Mountain SABR monthly Zoom gathering. There you are, Douglas. Hello. And this month we have an open forum. We did not get a guest or a guest speaker, much as we tried, but so this will be an open forum. And Greg Petty is already stretching, getting ready for the forum. And but I just want to touch on a few household things concerning the chapter. Christopher Moyer is coming on. There was some. Hi, Chris.
Hello there.
Hey, Chris.
Welcome.
There was some discussion after the All-Star game was relocated to Denver, Colorado. There was some discussion among the members of our board of directors regarding volunteer opportunities in terms of the All-Star game. And I just wanted to inform the general membership here of you participants today that we are putting out feelers here in terms of what's appropriate for the Rocky Mountain chapter of SABR. What I did as president of this chapter is reach out to Scott Bush, who is the national CEO of SABR, down in the National SABR office in Phoenix, Arizona. And
can't hear it?
What's that? Oh, okay. And I spoke to Scott about what might be possible or what might be appropriate. And Scott reached out to his connection, his person with Major League Baseball. And a few days later, he did hear back from that person. And it was a very non-committal response. It was very brief and said, we're still developing our plan, and we will get back to you if there are some internal opportunities for volunteer opportunities. Now, a couple of things I wanted to mention along those lines. One is we are just one chapter of a national organization. We're really not at liberty to just, even though the All-Star game is here in our town, we're not at liberty to just function independently, officially SABR. Certainly individually, we certainly are. Another thing is the time frame of this, the whole circumstance of this, regardless of your anybody's particular views on the reasons for the change.
He's still Zoom.
You have to understand that this is a very unique situation, even in terms of All-Star games. There's a reason that All-Star game sites are awarded 2 years out. It's a big undertaking, and it takes a lot of time and planning and preparation. I was working for the Rockies in 1998 when the All-Star game was here in Denver last. And I learned, it was an interesting experience, and I learned quickly that, as we all did, that this is Major League Baseball's party. This is Major League Baseball's show. The host club, the host Major League club, is merely providing a venue, literally. They're providing the stadium. And MLB came in and said, oh, is this your seating arrangement? Is this your, are these your ticket prices? Well, that's very nice, but we'll take it from here, so to speak. So, hi, Harry. And so we also have to understand that it's MLB show, and that the time frame has been shrunk from 2 years down to 3 months. So what that is even going to include, we do not yet know. One reasonable and logical area where we might be involved or would have been involved would be Fan Fest. I don't know if you, how many of you have been to an All-Star game or been to a Fan Fest, and that's an area where there are many different displays and from many different baseball, many different interests and entities within the baseball world. And so I know that SABR has had some presence at Fan Fests in past years, but right now it's to be determined. We do not know, but I think we have made our inquiries in terms of our chapter in SABR, and we've gone through the channels we should go through. So right now, that's all to be determined. So, any questions or comments about that? Okay. Hello, Bill Aubaugh. Hello, Ken Reed. It's just growing like crazy here, isn't it? Vince, you're back. Right. Oh, we have 20 people on now? Okay. Another thing I want to touch on, and before we open up, and we're just going to have an open forum, we can discuss your Colorado Rockies, I'm sure, or other teams. Like if there's some Yankee fans on board, I'd like to get a hold of them and ridicule them a little bit. Okay, Jim Helder, you foolishly raised your hand. Thank you.
No way. Don't you dare ridicule us.
Oh my God, Nicolette. Oh my God. Okay.
You said Yankee. What do you think I'm going to do?
Well, how about taking you, let's see, take your audio off. Let's see you on the audio. I'm not going to talk to a black box.
You mean video, right?
Video.
Yeah, I'm sorry, video.
Hang on. There.
Hi. Oh, hi. Okay. Hello.
And there's dancers on the walls, not Yankees.
Oh, okay. But obviously, we have been meeting since the pandemic started virtually for over a year now. And, oh, geez, really? Come on, Jim, you're killing me here. All right. I have to go get my Red Sox out. I'll be right back. No, I'm just kidding.
Murray could play what? Third base?
Hey, look at that. Okay, Douglas. Good job, Douglas. So we've been meeting like this for a long time. And of course, we all are aware of what's transpiring here. And people are getting vaccinated. You know, the numbers are increasing dramatically. I don't know how many millions of people per day getting vaccinated. So that is happening. That's moving forward. And localities and states are relaxing restrictions. The numbers are changing daily. Some are going in the wrong direction. Some are going in the right direction. But what that boils down to for us is we've been thinking about meeting again in person and when that might be doable and appropriate. And of course, it would involve all the attendees' comfort level. I was thinking, and I was talking to other board members about maybe perhaps in May, next month, we go back to the Blake Street Tavern where we have been meeting for several years and see if that's going to work, if that's viable. We of course have to, work with the Blake Street Tavern and see if they're likewise comfortable with that. And based on just the daily news that I hear, it may be more prudent to look at June instead of May for that. Can I see a show of hands, quick show of hands of how many of you, and it's a semi-personal question, but how many of you have already been vaccinated?
Will be fully by Monday.
Okay. Or let's say a month from now, will you be fully vaccinated? Okay, so that's most everybody. Okay. And if we went back to in-person meetings, would we would you be comfortable attending an in-person SABR lunch? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, some, but not all. Okay. Okay. Also, I think even after we go back to in-person meetings, which I think we all want and almost crave, I think there's been a decent sentiment for continuing these Zoom calls, even when we go back to in-person. So, that's open for discussion or suggestion.
Been great for those of us who don't live in the area.
What's that, Dave?
That was Ryan Shore.
It's been. I was just saying it's been great for those of us who don't live in the area. I live in Columbus, Indiana. So
Columbus, where?
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Indiana, about 40 miles. Yeah. So
wow.
I'm not really. I wouldn't be able to come to your meetings in person, but you do what you want to do. You know.
Okay.
Hey, Paul, I got a comment on the Zoom meetings, and I may be the outlier here, but
David?
I got to tell you, I think there's been a lot of organizations, a lot of industries that have retrofitted. I think because of COVID, SABR being one of them. I personally love the Zoom meetings. I think from a guest speaker standpoint, I have noticed that during COVID we've had a lot better guest speakers because of Zoom than we would if we met in person. Just a lot easier from a logistics standpoint. I live out here in Erie, close to you, Paul, but I've really enjoyed it. I mean, it just takes out the hassle of having to go downtown and park and takes 2-3 hours out of your day. I think I enjoy the camaraderie, but I'll tell you, the Zoom has just been outstanding in every respect. And I've kind of grown to really, really like it. If we end up going back to in person, I'll be there. But this is just my personal opinion. I would really like to see it stay with Zoom, maybe periodically, maybe every other month. Maybe we look at some other alternatives. Maybe one every quarter we have a Zoom meeting, and maybe twice in that quarter we meet in person. Just a thought.
And it's good thought, and I appreciate your comments. That's good input. It might be that we alternate or make both available every month.
Maybe Paul, maybe the thought is the months that we have a guest speaker, we do it on Zoom, because from the guest speaker standpoint, it would be a lot easier to have that person on board and a lot easier to get guest speakers. And then the months that we don't have a guest speaker, that we meet in person.
Yeah, the funny thing is, for many years I've chased down speakers for chapter meetings and for banquets, and but you're right. It's much easier to do on Zoom because the potential speaker is not having to travel or be paid or be fed, and plus we now know what Buddy Black's kitchen looks like. We know what Brad Lidge's basement looks like now. So there are all kinds of advantages.
Well, it's kind of neat. Yeah.
Paul, has the Blake Street Tavern stated what their capacity will be as of next month?
Well, I stay in touch with them, with Shelley, the general manager, and that also is an ever evolving and ever changing set of circumstances. And they have to react and adapt to the protocols that are being issued by City of Denver. And
one other thought, Paul. One other thought, and I just share this with the group. I was in Moab yesterday. We spent a few days in Moab on a little vacation just to get away. But I happened to walk by a conference room, and they were having a meeting like we do, and they had the guest speaker on a Zoom on the television, and they just set it up with the hotel. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do this. Set up a screen or bring in a TV and hook the computer to the television, and you've got your Zoom at a meeting.
It's a very good suggestion, David. The Blake Street Tavern has very limited capabilities.
I think
for doing things like that. I
just thought I'd throw that out.
And to piggyback on what David was saying earlier, I attended a Zoom in Chicago with Ryan Sandberg as a surprise guest. I mean, and that's not possible in person. So if you combine the in-person and the Zoom, maybe that would be the best thing for SABR. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing limiting us in terms of how often we do meetings, whether virtually or in person. I know that a lot of people also miss, and I'm certainly one of them, miss the in-person interactions and camaraderie that we get from being right there with somebody. And we're going to get back to that. But I think in the meantime, as we kind of inch forward and feel our way, I think we should be open to all these ideas and all these suggestions. So, okay. One other item about the chapter, and that is what used to be the highlight of our year, and that's the banquet. We had the banquet for many years, 20 in a row, I think. And we didn't have it last year. And the question now is, are we going to have it come this November? And that also is up in the air. I'm going to be meeting next week with the Rockies because they are, not only do they, supply the venue, provide the venue for our banquets, but they also support us financially in that regard. And I'm actually meeting with my old boss, Jim Kellogg, and who's the guy who really calls the shots in terms of the financial support. I'm also going to meet with the venue operations, the facilities person.
May I ask how much support you get from the Rockies financially?
Yes, had you lived, Ryan, if you had lived, I could tell you if you lived west of the Mississippi, but I just can't do, no.
I see. I know.
Yeah, no, we have traditionally gotten $1,500 to $2,000. It has varied based on the particular circumstances. As a matter of fact, there was one year we got nothing because it was the kind of the Great Recession of 2008, 2009. So but it's right around there. And the Rockies have been very generous in their support in the past. So, but I don't know what, it's a completely different world inside the Rockies front office, and in terms of revenue and what their decision-making process is in terms of what kind of civic and community support they're going to be doing. They took like everybody else in baseball and in the world, and they took a big financial hit with no fans last year. And so we shall see. So the banquet also is usually by middle of April here, second half of April. We are pretty far along in our cycle of preparation in terms of getting a venue, getting speakers, lining up a program, doing some preliminary work in terms of the design of invitations and dinner programs, et cetera, and things along those lines. And that none of that has taken place now because we have no idea if the Rockies would even be willing to entertain this idea. But I will hopefully find out a lot more next week. So with that, if there's anybody else have any chapter questions or concerns? Okay.
Paul, I have a question just about the website, the chapter website.
Well,
There's you know, the events calendar and stuff like that. Seems like it's out of date. Are we able to contribute to that, or?
that's Alex is our secretary. Do you want to adjust?
Oh, okay.
Sure, Mike. I'll just address the first part. Yeah, unfortunately, it is out of date just because with the whole COVID thing, we wanted to just kind of do things, you know, ad hoc. Unfortunately, we couldn't really plan anything. So, you know, that once we start getting back into in-person events, that will be updated. Yes. The second part about, you said adding it, like, was there something specific in mind you had?
No, I mean, I'm working full time, but I work from home. So, you know, there's spaces in my day and in my weeks where I'd be happy to help, you know, with writing or editing or anything else. So,
Oh, wow.
I'll throw my Albuquerque Dukes hat in the ring for that. Just let me know.
You're based out of Albuquerque?
No, I'm in Parker, which is named
okay.
for our chapter president, I believe. So, yeah,
That's correct.
You're in Parker and I am Parker. Okay, that's
right.
No, thanks
Absolutely.
for the offer. We'll take that away and keep it in mind, sir.
Okay, cool. Please do.
No, I actually named myself after the town of Parker. So.
And just so you know, Mike, I raised the Albuquerque one because I believe there's an Albuquerque chapter. So I just didn't want to take it away from them. That's all.
Oh, no. Yeah, absolutely. Paul, we moved here in 1996 when there was about 8,000 people in town and Walmart was a sod farm. So we've seen a few changes.
I'll bet. Oh, one other thing, and this is an idea. I'm just going to throw it out, and I'm just glad that Harry and Chris are on the call today. But I have an idea, and it's not really a new idea. But when we go back to meeting in person, I would like to see a meeting, in-person chapter meeting, take place in Colorado Springs, in some way, shape, or form. And it would, first of all, it would be nice for our members down there and near there. And also it might be an awful kind of a fun thing to do for the members up in the Denver area. So,
Paul, maybe we can give Chris Moyer an opportunity to speak about the Pioneer League schedule that recently came out.
I think that's a great idea. But yeah, the idea is, you know, we always assume we have to meet in Denver because it's so centralized and it's near the ballpark and this and that. But really, I'd love to see us get down to Colorado Springs and serve those members as well. Christopher, would you care to chime in on this?
Yeah, I know that our Vibe schedules comes out like in the mid February, I believe. Excuse me, mid June. Sorry, my mind's thrown here as I'm trying to pull up the schedule real quick. It's actually the week before. A week before Memorial Day, actually in May. So it's actually we start a little earlier this year. The schedules with COVID, they're actually doing 6-game homestands this year. So all the series go Wednesday through Monday for home and road series. I'm just trying to pull up the schedule real quick here.
Wednesday through Monday. How many games are they playing?
They're going to be playing. Let me just trying to grab the schedule here real quick here. It's in the area of about it's 96 games this year, so 48 home, 48 road.
Well,
so it's actually a little bit more than we used to have in the Pioneer League for that 1 year in the Pioneer League.
What I meant was, you said Wednesday through Monday. Are they playing like a 5 or 6 game series?
All the series this year will be 6-game series, just like in the minor leagues.
Wow.
Cut down on just like the minors this year. they're doing 6-game schedules just to cut down on travel because of COVID and stuff. So like in the minors, most of the teams are playing Tuesday through Sunday. I think the old, what was the Pacific Coast League, actually go Friday through Wednesday. But other than that, I'll try and pull up the schedule here in a few moments here. But they are, they've got, I'll have to look, I'm trying to see if I can grab the old schedule here from for this year. But it's like May, let's see, May 22nd is actually when they're starting the season. They start the season with a 3-game series against Grand Junction, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, and then they have the next 2 weeks on the road. But I'll try and see if I can get you, send you an updated schedule here in the next few weeks or so.
Okay.
Actually, see if I can grab it off my phone.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
A couple of questions come up. Somebody asked, I can't remember, about our normal Zoom schedule. And that is, for those of you who didn't look at Alex's response to that, traditionally we shoot for the third Wednesday in the month, every month. And if that conflicts with a Rockies home day game, then we bump it back one day, because they'll never play 2 weekday home day games. So, and then there was another inquiry about elections, and Bill Albaugh wanted to speak about elections. So let's, Bill, unmute yourself and have the floor.
Sure. Yeah, I thought it might be appropriate with the number that we had to at least make mention of the fact that we're very soon now going to be into our biennial election cycle, and all 4 officers will be up for election. Paul and I have both decided to retire, for all 4 officers, but at least for the 2 of us, we won't be running for re-election. And then I believe, Alex, 1 director, is that correct? 2 directors, two members of the board at large will be up for, the positions will be up for election. And of course, we don't have any sense at this point of whether people are going to be running for re-election or what. But just consider, folks, that there's an opportunity there if you want to be more intimately involved in the chapter's operation. There's a way to do that, and it's coming up very shortly. Nominations first, and then the balloting process. And normally we announce the winners of the election at the banquet. How all of that will play out this year, I'm sure one of the major networks would be glad to cover our announcement of who won the election. So when that finally occurs, but just thought it might be something to plant a seed, get it in your mind. I mean, certainly if you're interested in my job, be glad to talk to you about what's involved and anything that you want to consider. I'm sure any of us would. Any of the officers would be glad to talk to potential candidates and kind of let you know what you're looking at if you decide to get involved at that level. So,
hey, Bill, Bill, let me segue into that and mention that you all should have, as members, received an email in the last few days talking about the National Board of Directors. And there's 3 openings for the director on the national, and Alex Marks is running as one of those. And I would encourage everybody to get in and vote for Alex, as not only has he done a great job for our group, but he'll be kind of a representative for the Rocky Mountain region if he got on that national board. So I wanted to put a plug in for Alex for that as well.
Thank you, Kurt.
Alex, locally the nominations start
August 15th.
August 15th, yeah.
Yep.
They will be open for 2 weeks. What did we?
I think a little bit longer than that, Paul. I think till about
beginning of September.
September 15th, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds
Bear
right.
with me 1 minute. I can check. That's 3 weeks. August 15th through September 7th is the nomination period. Yep.
So, you folks out there, just to follow up, piggyback on what Bill was just saying, it's planting a seed. It's obviously, if you're participating in this Zoom call today, you have some interest in this chapter, and perhaps you might want to, consider running for the board this year. So
I veto you and Bill leaving.
Okay.
Just thought I'd make my sentiments clear. You're vetoed, so you can't go.
Okay, thank you, Nicolette. That's very, appreciate that. I've actually been on the board. This will, at the end of this year, will have been on the board for 24 years since its creation. And I think it's time for me to pass the torch, if you will. And so that is my thinking there. So, Bill, did you want to? No? Okay.
Bill
Okay.
vetoed.
Okay. Thank you, Nicolette. All right. So anything else in terms of chapter news or views or? Okay. Well, let's just then open it up. Should I say it? Can I say it? How about those Rockies? Huh? Riding a 1-game winning streak. Come on. That was nice. I was all set to condemn CJ Crone. What you guys remember Doug Moe, the old coach of the Denver Nuggets? When you didn't like a guy, he'd always call him a stiff. And after I saw that ball that slow roller go between Crone's legs, which really was the game decider, that turned out to be the winning run. I thought, geez, this guy's a stiff, man. You gotta knock the ball down, right? I mean, if you even fell down, and stop the ball. All right. So I'm just trying to incite some conversation here.
Wasn't that his second play of almost the exact type? The other one might have been hit harder, but where it went so far under his glove didn't even touch the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was supposed to be a big improvement over Daniel Murphy.
I think he came down with Crohn's disease.
That may be. Well, and such a bargain, right? But it's a tough time that the Rockies find themselves in. Here's something I'm going to throw out. There's a lot of talk, and after the Nolan Arenado trade, everybody's Rockies Nation or SABR Nation, whatever, in Colorado, up in arms about the ownership of the Rockies. Obviously, general manager and the owner. And people say, well, Dick Monfort should sell the team. And I just struggle to see that happening, because Dick is now in his late 60s, and Dick Monfort has 2 sons who are in their 30s, who both work for the ball club. One is in his son Sterling is in scouting, and his son Walker is vice president of corporate partnerships. And Walker has really cut his teeth in everywhere from the ticket office to the grounds crew, and just kind of spent time becoming familiar with many of the aspects of a front office and how a major league franchise operates. So, of course, we cannot predict the future, right? Just ask Fred Wilpon and about Bernie Madoff, you know. But it's hard to see Dick having any interest in selling the team anywhere in any foreseeable future. So, and another problem I see is, let's say the Rockies lose, what do you think, Kurt? 104 games? No, Kurt's an optimist. No, he's picking on you, Kurt. But let's say it really gets really ugly, which it may very well. Okay, so he finally lets Bridich go. But it was he that hired Bridich in the first place, and it would be Dick who would be deciding on a new general manager. Now, when Kelly McGregor died, I'm kind of digging deep here, he was president of the ball club, an exceptional person, exceptional man, passed away unexpectedly at the age of 47. It left a huge gap there in the front office. And there was great speculation as to who would replace Kelly McGregor as president of the ball club. Turned out to be Dick decided to choose himself to be the de facto president of the ball club without actually taking the title. And I don't think that's worked out so well. So this is the man that's making the decisions. Even if Bridich goes, I don't see him selling. So, boy, it's like, feels like a rock and a hard place long term. So.
Paul, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday was the 11th anniversary of Kelly's passing.
That would be correct. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to know him as an usher, and
I don't think Kelly was ever an usher. No.
No. He should have been. He would have been good at it.
Yeah.
I this is a long story, but I'll keep it really short. He was as nice as he could have been to me. I spent an hour and a half with him up in his office once, and was helpful and nice. And, you know, he made me feel special whenever I talked to him. And when he died, I found out everybody else had the same story. And, you know, what more can you say about a person? I think you're right about Dick and the family. That's not going anywhere. And, you know, you get guys like Mark Kisla and folks like that saying trade story now. And, you know, from a pure baseball business standpoint, that probably makes sense. But my reaction is, you know, nothing's going to change. Let us watch him as long as we can. You know?
Anybody else want to jump in here? I'm watching Story play. It doesn't seem like Story's heart is in it right now. I don't know. Maybe that's unfair.
Well, he's also looks like he might be pressing a little bit. I mean, he's one of the higher, I guess, targeted players on the lineup by opposing pitchers and teams. So he looks like he's probably pressing. He's had a couple bad luck hits in terms of like hits that probably would have been much better at other stadiums. So, you know, his BABIP, as they call it, batting average, balls in play, is actually pretty good. So he said a bit of bad luck. The one thing I'll just add about Story is that right now his trade value is probably not the greatest, and because of his position and whatnot, for the Rockies, from a business standpoint, Douglas, like you said, it would make sense for them if they, you know, to hold on to him to the end of the season and put a qualifying offer on him. You know, he's probably not going to take it, but the compensation they would get from that, I feel, would probably be much better than what they could be offered in a trade as of this point or at the trade deadline or whatever. So,
well, certainly based on the Arenado trade, the return, you know, they'd be better off. Although they have not drafted well either.
You know, I mean, some ways they have, some ways they haven't.
You know, I think part of it too, I mean, speaking of Nolan, is when you take Nolan out of that lineup, all of a sudden the focus goes almost entirely to Trevor Story. So that's got to, you know, there's a lot of talk about You know, does the number 3 hitter protect the number 4 hitter, and so on?
Especially
I think Arenado
struggling, right, Michael?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, by the way, Zoom has me as Michael. I go by Mike. If you're mad at me, no, that's okay. If you're mad at me, please feel free to call me Michael, like my mom does, or my wife.
You can rename yourself, Michael.
What's that?
You can rename yourself by going up to those 3 little dots by your little rectangle.
Greg, don't tell me that, because I worked for Zoom for 2 years. If I don't know that, then I'm really in tough shape. But what I was going to say is, I mean, I think that's the exponential impact of losing a bat and a presence like Arenado. You take that out, and it affects guys 1 through 8, you know, 1 through 9.
Especially with guys like Owings getting hurt, and then Crone having a bad start to the season. It just exposes everybody even more.
Yeah, and oh by the way, we're all still in the midst of a global pandemic, which I think I know has played with people's heads at my place of work. I'm sure it does at Trevor Story's place of work.
I mean, because of the pandemic, we didn't have to deal with the cold weather last year, and this year the batting average has improved a little bit, but it's still 235 throughout the league. I mean, I'm a Cubs fan, and I see the same thing in all of my guys who are going to be free agents. Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, they're all pressing. They all want to make the big money right now. You know, hit the 5-run homer. You know, and it's just not. It's not happening for any of them.
Yeah, we refer to them not as potential free agents, but as future Yankees and Red Sox and Dodgers.
Well, I prefer to be more positive.
The acerbic-tongued Mike Faber was that.
Well, I'm stepping into my role here.
I do have a question, because I was wondering, aside from all the political stuff that brought the All-Star game to Colorado, how do people in Denver feel about having the All-Star game there in Denver?
Anybody want to respond to that? Having lived through one of them, I was an employee. At that time I was in merchandising. I was managing one of the dugout stores, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and Denver taking this on with 3 months to work with is simply not fair to the local people.
Yep.
Denver. It's going to be everything's going to be compressed and condensed. I can't imagine. And I don't know what MLB is going to do. They may say, well, we don't really have time to put together a fan fest. We don't have how many fans are going to be in the stands at that point? It's
according to Governor Polis, Paul, it's supposed to be going to be wide open, according to Governor Polis at that point, but that was his prediction.
The other thing to keep in mind is that we were runner-up for next year's All-Star game, which tells me we probably would have got the All-Star game in the next few years had we not taken it this year. So I kind of, from that standpoint, would have liked to seen us wait, do it right, and in one of the years where everything, we have 2 or 3 years to prepare for it and so forth.
Well, I think with this coming, I think it's wonderful. Denver has all-stars, but from putting together galas on a small scale, international ones at the New York City Ballet, and knowing about it a year before, all I can tell you is we're all crazy, because you practically die through those things. And that is just people, those are just dancers, and there's not like 50,000 of them. Of course, with the egos, there may be 50,000 of them, but it's very, very difficult process. And I can't even imagine. This is stellar in the baseball world. This is, except for the series, this is amazing. And this is also a circus, and on top of the World Series. And I think it's wonderful, because who doesn't have an all-star game on their bucket list? I do. But I think it's going to be really tough and hard on the people of Denver. It's prestigious, but wow. I don't want to be on any of the staff having to accommodate for it. And don't worry, of course I'm not, but hopefully I'll be in the hospital working when it happens.
You know, to follow up on what Nicolette indicated here, you know, with the World Series, you don't know who's going to host the World Series until a few days before it starts. But an all-star game, you have a couple of years to, so yep. It allows for a much larger operation. So it's tough. It's tough.
Amazing.
And to go back to the previous point, you know, I'm glad they got it and hope they can pull it off. Who knows if there will be a fan fest, like you say, just from logistics, but also COVID. We don't know what that's going to be like. I've said to friends, I think this is a bad year to get it. That I would have preferred, as it was stated, you know, to a couple of years down the road where it could be done right and all the hoopla that goes along with it. That being said, I went to 94 in Pittsburgh and 96 in Philadelphia. And my view of the All-Star game is quite diminished from what it used to be. You know, and a lot of that came out of Selig's decision to have the winner have home field advantage in the World Series. You know, it's an exhibition game. Yeah. And, you know, the requirement that every team have a representative, you know, and that's the nice thing to do, but the last place teams may be in last place because they don't have any all-stars, you know? And then it's really become such a corporate function rather than a baseball game for the fans that I get a little bit turned off by it. But since it's in town and I'm a season ticket holder, I'll be at everything. So
that home field advantage thing backfired because it allowed the Cubs to win 2016 series because it allowed them to use Schwarber as a DH. If the National League wins the series, I think the Indians win. If the National League wins the game, I think the Indians win the series. It's wrong to base something so major on one game. I'm glad they got rid of that, but I don't think the All-Star game is special anymore since the interleague play started.
Yes, I agree with that. Certainly.
Might be special for the city, though.
One other thought here. Regardless of where you are on the vast political spectrum of this country, and I know most of you personally, and I know we are all over the political spectrum, but we know the reason why this was transferred from Atlanta to Denver. But I'm personally disappointed, not in the why of it, but that baseball decided to get so quickly and so deeply involved in politics. It's a tough one because on the one hand, baseball was attempting to make a principled stand on a big issue, but on the other hand, it's negatively affected a lot of people in Georgia. You know, workers, and so it's a tough thing. But is that the right place for baseball?
I think the baseball's gotten a little bit too social. It's a socialized sport, but when you start to let the politics enter into the equation, I think you're going to find yourself in trouble. And as quickly as they made that decision, really shocked me. I mean, it almost seemed like they just did it off the, you know, without even thinking through it, what they were doing. And, you know, it's just, it's an unfortunate situation because I think it sets the tone for what happens in the future. And if you allow that to continue to happen and you let the politics get into it, it'll be a detriment to the sport, all sports, in my opinion. They ought to stay out of it, play baseball, let's have a good time, and not let those people, you know, have the burden of a loss of income, and the people that are impacted in Atlanta, I feel for. They don't deserve it.
On the other hand, it does show you that baseball can act quickly, and maybe it points to something positive happening quickly on the labor issue, knowing that baseball can act quickly when both sides want something done. Yeah. I don't know. It seemed weird to me too that Denver would volunteer for that. I mean, I would have rather stayed in Georgia. I mean, that's a dangerous precedent to set for baseball. Yeah. I agree.
That's a good point. The other thing is too, I think in somewhat, not only did we have the national politics enter into it, but I think you've got union negotiations coming up with the union, and I don't think they wanted to go down that road with the contract expiring at the end of the year.
Just being an observer of the passing, we're just watching it through news reports. It seems to me that there was a great deal of pressure put on the commissioner.
Yeah,
to act,
no doubt,
and from certain quarters, and he decided to act. So.
Yeah, no doubt.
I just think it's very unfortunate. I think I was baptized being a baseball fan. As a matter of fact, I know I was. My mother was forced into it, but that's okay. And I go to the baseball game the same reason I go to the ballet, because arts are supposed to reach everybody without a political stance. And I kind of feel like baseball is. It's the one place I can go to when everything else is falling apart and watch people crawl in the dirt or jump in the air or even beat the Yankees. It's baseball. And it's
the Yankees.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind if the Yankees get beaten this year. If anybody thinks they're going to the postseason, they're drinking the Kool-Aid, for gosh sakes. But they're like the '67 Yankees, except they're not old. And I just think that, except maybe they can get arrested. I don't know. I just, baseball to me is like going to church. It's the place where nobody's supposed to be mean to you, not even the Red Sox fans. And that it's a great forum. It's just people watching a wonderful sport or watching an array of, with a 6-foot elevation now in heaven. But I don't know. It just makes me kind of sad that it's the way I get away from politics, not the way I go into them. And I think a lot of pressure is being put on people in big businesses, of which baseball is. And I think it's unfortunate because I don't want to see any more sadness, except for my team losing. That's about it, I don't know. That's a Pollyanna view of the world, but that's why I do what I do.
Okay, we have an update from our Vice President Kurt on the game. Apparently, the Rockies are up 2-0, and
it's snowing pretty good too.
Oh God!
Yeah. Double by Trevor. First 3 batters, and we're up 2-0 on a double by Trevor.
Yay!
That's going to be 2 in a row if the Rockies win. I really don't see the Rockies losing again this year. So. That's just me. But
you see a strike, Paul?
What?
See a strike or a lockout?
No. But what's another kind of we're jumping around here, but what's kind of a shame is that now the Rockies, with such a depleted lineup, are wasting some pretty decent starting pitching. John Gray's been pretty solid, and Herman is trying to command this fastball, as they say, and Sensatella's been largely pretty good. Austin Gomber's pitching today, isn't he? Right, Austin Gomber.
Yes.
Yeah, he's pitching today. It seems like the pitching is pretty decent, and we're but that bullpen, boy, I don't know. I miss the good old days when Jake McGee was still here.
You know, one guy, Paul, in the bullpen that is kind of flown under the radar is that Jordan Sheffield we signed that we just have to keep on the team to have him. He's pitched 4 games without giving up a run this year, just kind of quietly under the radar.
Well, let's make him a starter. Yes, indeed.
How about Wade Davis? I'm kidding.
He's not doing too badly. I think he's back with the Royals or some other team.
He's with the Royals.
Okay.
He's hanging in there.
And so is Brian Shaw and Jake McGee.
And I think DJ LeMahieu is doing okay.
He's doing okay. He's the only one of the Yankees who is doing okay.
Well, and you know, it's amazing, particularly it seems like with pitchers, and this is all anecdotal, but when they leave the Rockies, they become successful. And whether that's pitching at altitude or in the ballpark or the way they're coached and strategized, I don't know, but it seems to be curious.
Drew Pomerantz was a bum in Denver, and then he became an all-star somewhere else.
Yeah. Jeff Hoffman's doing well in Cincinnati, too.
It makes you feel any better. Wade Davis has a 5.40 ERA and 1 save.
I saw him a little bit last night.
Not amazing.
Coors Field seems to be the place where wonderful pitchers come to die. I swear. And we have some good pitching, just not all the time. The guys this year seem to be stepping up to the challenge.
Right now, Nicolette, the starting pitching staff for the Rockies ranks 8th in Major League Baseball in WAR, wins above replacement.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, despite the fact that I either bleed blue or purple, I don't know. I think the Rockies are getting there slowly but surely. And I really like what I see in the pitching. And Senzatella happens to be one of my favorite pitchers in baseball. So, you know, that's above Garrett Cole. Everybody beat me up for that, but I don't care. I like Senzatella. Garrett Cole is like watching paint dry. I'm sorry. He's wonderful, but I can't stand. I always fall asleep when he's on the mound.
I know they have these rankings that come out every week, power rankings now. And the Rockies came in at number 30 on the power rankings. And I guess the silver lining there is no 31.
No place to go but up.
That's right.
But that was down from 28 the week before.
Yeah, I think they all 28, 29. Yeah, it's
I say they're in first place for the 2022 draft. That's how I look at it.
When exactly does the collective bargaining agreement expire? Is that like November
1st? December 1st.
December 1st.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be another fun event for baseball. I'm cautious.
They held their first meeting. The Players Union and Major League Baseball held their first meeting yesterday in months.
Good. Well, you know, Rob Manfred has always been involved with those labor negotiations. Maybe that will help this time. But I'm cautious, based on the history of negotiations in baseball, I'm cautiously pessimistic. I mean, baseball by far is the best sport at killing the golden goose. You know? So here's hoping. Here's hoping.
It isn't so golden anymore after these last year and a half, you know. The goose isn't that golden any longer.
I think the attendance has been declining for a few years in a row now, right? 4 or 5 years in a row. And I'll throw out another idea. What about sabermetrics? What about analytics? Have we gone overboard with that? It seems that we're now up to the three true outcomes the home run, the strikeout, and the walk. But what it's done is really deactivated the game itself, the product on the field, you know, and I think it's becoming less interesting to watch.
I would disagree strongly with that, Paul. Yeah. I could give you a million explanations, but I'll just give you one. Looking at last year's World Series with the Tampa Bay Rays, what they did with their bullpen, how they orchestrated and constructed their bullpen through analytics. I mean, putting aside the whole Blake Snell thing, I'm not talking about that, but the bullpen itself, they don't get to the World Series without analytics. They don't. So
but why then is with the viewership, the television viewership for the World Series last year, you know, horrible? It was way down.
Well, I mean, we had the whole coronavirus situation. I mean,
yeah, but the television numbers have been going down pretty steadily.
I think baseball needs to start thinking about evolving in other areas. You know, I just think, you know, there's things that are dragging it down. You and I talked briefly before the call about extra innings. I think that's one of them, that people feel it's too long. You know, maybe that has to do with the 3 true outcomes that they said, you know, games are only won if someone hits a home run or a walk-off walk or something. But I think baseball, like analytics, needs to evolve continuously. Can't stand still.
I think one of the things that Ken Reed I'm speaking for Ken here, this is something he mentions frequently, is with the analytics has put these big shifts on. And the teams have got to start, players have got to learn to bunt, to start shooting the ball into the gaps where they aren't, you know, bunt down the third baseline when everybody's shifting to the far right against you, and keep them honest on that. And if they could learn to do that, start playing small ball again, you'd take away that shift. People couldn't do that on you. There's going to be a few players, you know, a Ryan Howard would have never done that. And they had the big shifts on him, people like that. But, you know, that would make a big difference if they start learning to bunt again.
Don't you think it's really, I look at sabermetrics and watching baseball as 2 separate issues. They are and they're not, because I'm wedded to statistics. I have to be in what I do. But that's very different from watching a game. Strategy is on one level analytical, but watching is a whole different level. You know, I think there are 2 separate things. One is an emotional attachment to the game or a looking at the game, and the other is saying it's more mechanical. What do we do to make the outcome better? And they often, you know, analytics works obviously when they do this, but the first time I saw one of the players take the hat off and look at the cheat sheet, I thought, you're cheating in class? You know, that's the first thing I thought. And I thought, oh, great. Are the players enjoying trying to find out how they're supposed to catch or hit? I think that we're removing a human part of baseball, whether it's human error or, you know, I can't even imagine watching Willie Mays going, wait, where's the ball going to be? Wait, let me look at this batter and see if I'm going to get there in time. And it's not Willie Mays playing baseball anymore, but it's still people watching baseball. And frankly, I don't care how fast or what the launch angle is and the velocity. Anybody who's taken basic physics knows force, mass, acceleration of gravity, it goes farther. Yay. That's basic physics. But does that make the game more exciting to know that the launch angle was this? If you don't know what a launch angle is, I just don't. I sometimes think for a viewer, it has to be less analytic. Now, maybe to make a winning team, it has to be more analytic, but that's different than the person watching the game, I believe. It's just my viewpoint. And I'll stop talking now. Promise.
I think kind of on that point, that's one of the things ESPN is doing well. In the past few years, they've started having a StatCast broadcast on either ESPN2 or on their other channels, in addition to the main broadcast. So that way, the people in the baseball community like myself, who are highly fans of analytics during the game as well, are able to watch one. And at the same time, the more common man fan is able to watch a broadcast without being told too much about statistics so that enjoyment's not going away. And I think that's something that Fox should look into with the World Series, and that could be part of helping fix the issue.
You know, speaking of getting back to Paul's comment about the game being too slow, the Rockies have 6 regulars if you include Hilliard and Nunez and Diaz as regulars. But 6 of their regulars have struck out at least 1 in 3 at bats. Some of them 1 in 2 at bats, and the others 1 in every 3 at bats. That's pretty bad. You know, Nunez, I'll take the 1 and 2. Every 2 at bats, he struck out once. But I'll take that when he gives you 4 homers, where last year we only got 2 homers out of all of our catchers combined for the season. So I'll take it there.
He's OPSing current, like you said, he's OPSing close to over 1,000.
Yeah, I'll take what he's doing there, but I hate the strikeout. I'm with you, Paul. The strikeouts just drive me nuts, you know, and the walks too. You know, keep the ball in play, keep the action going.
Something else Alex and I were talking about before we went on the air, so to speak, and that's the idea which I've heard now a couple of times. Since the pitchers is now so dominant, how about moving the pitching mound back to 6 inches, just to 61 feet? It's been 60 feet, 6 inches. It's all ingrained in our baseball DNA since 1893. But maybe it's time to think about that.
Well, Paul,
I think the Atlantic League is moving it back a foot.
Yeah, the second half of the Atlantic League season, they're actually going to do that, to go to 61.5 feet to test it out as part of their experimental rules this year.
I'd be very curious to see how that goes. Yeah,
right. And there's not just when Alex was mentioning earlier about different rule changes and stuff like that. The minor leagues are doing a bunch of rule changes this year to test out different things. The Atlantic League is also doing some other things. One of the things that they're looking at in AAA this year, they're actually enlarging the bases from 15 inches to 18 inches. Maybe something to try and test out. You know, we saw a player with Baltimore messed up his ankle last night trying to slide back in first base. Maybe trying to get some softer bases just to cut down on injuries, or maybe that 18-inch base, to test that out to see if that goes out, stretch that out into the baseline area there, so to try and avoid the Achilles, people stepping on the Achilles with the when people run up the baseline there. That's one thing they're looking at AAA. AA was going to be testing out the shifts we were talking about earlier. Second half, part of it, they're going to have teams are going to be restricted to having players, the infielders, stay on the ground, on the dirt, rather than shifting out to the rover position out in left, right, center. And then second half of the season, they're going to actually require all 4 players stay 2 left, 2 right of second base there in AA. And there are some other rules that they're also testing out. Atlantic League is also trying something called the double hook rule, where they're actually going to, when the starting pitcher is in the game, they'll use the DH. But once the starter is taken out of the game, they will convert to a pinch hitter role. So the DH will actually only be in play when the starting pitcher is in the game, to basically try and incentivize the starter going longer.
Yeah, in other words, when the pitcher comes out, the DH has to come out as well at that point.
That's
what
correct.
They're saying.
Yes. That's among some of the rules that are being tested out this year, whether any of them come to fruition in the future. But, you know, at least they're testing them out this year and see, you know, if they actually work out. I mean, heck, we've already seen it with the pitch clock in the minors already for 4 or 5 years now in the minors. So whether that actually happens in the majors, that's, well, we'll see if that gets figured into the new CBA and everything.
I don't like the you know, minimizing the shifting going on. It's just part of the game that's been there for 150 years. If a manager wants to have 7 left fielders, that's his business. That's up to him. But
well, and where do you draw the line? I know where the guy's going to hit it, so that's where I want to play. No, you may know that, but you can't do that. I mean, where do you draw that line about what knowledge you can apply and what you can't? And we live in an analytical world. I mean, this Zoom call has analytics to it. It's everywhere, and it's gotten more sophisticated. And the teams that do it well have reaped the benefits.
I agree with Douglas. I mean, there's 2 rules that I hate right now, or well, one that they're doing and one they're anticipating to implement. The extra base runner and extra innings. Oh. I'm sorry, I want that gone. I just think that's ridiculous. The second thing is the ban or limiting of shifts. I'm sorry, you can place you have 9 ball players out in the field. You can place them anywhere you want to. And as Kurt said, if the batter's got 4 guys on one side, you bunt it down the third baseline. If you're a lefty, I'm sorry, you just do that. And I don't care if that breaks a golden rule or a gentleman's rule, as they refer to it in baseball. You left that side of the diamond open. That's fair game.
Exactly.
One rule I like, and most people don't, is making a relief pitcher face 3 batters in that inning. And as somebody that goes to a lot of games, it's, if you're at home, commercial comes on when you replace that pitcher every other batter and you step into the kitchen and get something, whatever. But when you're at the games and it's late on a Tuesday night and you're working the next day and they're replacing the pitcher for every lefty righty that comes up, that gets really old. I like that rule.
That'll teach you to work, Kurt.
Bruce Bochy was the worst about that.
Absolutely, he was.
Just what followed what Alex said. Technically, just to be technical about it, you can only move 7 people around. The pitcher is required to be in physical contact with the pitching rubber, and the catcher is required to be in the catcher's box. But
sorry, I mean, you have 9 players on the field. If you're right, if you want to adjust the other 7, go for it.
I just wanted to, play the wise guy there. So,
the other thing too, they talk about pace of game, but I think a lot of it too is length of game. And I've been harping for a long time. You take 1 30-second commercial out of every half inning break. And they'll say, oh, money, money, money. Well, if inventory goes down, price goes up. And that cuts, 8.5 minutes minimum out of every game.
My pet peeve is the batting gloves. Okay, you're wearing batting gloves, fine. Okay, you swing and miss or swing and hit it foul or something. You step out, you readjust the batting gloves. But the guys who stand there, take a pitch, and then step out and readjust their batting gloves, what are you readjusting,
Omar Garcia-Parra.
Noma started all this. It's his fault. So I think you're not allowed to, if you didn't swing, you're not allowed to step out and readjust your gloves.
I think it's as much psychological as it is physical. It's just kind of a reset for every pitch, and a routine and a habit that they get into,
Hey, Chris, wasn't Mike Hargrove the guy that called the human rain delay?
Yep, definitely. Mike Hargrove was probably one of the first ones, but obviously Nomar became more known for it, I guess, in the 90s and 2000s.
Well, there've been other rain delays. The pitcher, the old Yankee pitcher, Japanese pitcher for the Yankees. No, the Red Sox. He was so slow, he'd lull everybody to sleep. About 10 years ago, who was that?
Matsuzaka. Daisuke Matsuzaka.
Matsuzaka, yeah, there you go. There's another human rain delay. Yeah. Oh, man.
By the way, Paul, I went ahead and sent you and Alex a copy of the photo of the Vibe schedule for this year. So if you wanted to look at a scenario for Colorado Springs down the road or something like that. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
We will work on that. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen.
Rockies up 4-2.
Hey, what inning is it?
It is the bottom of the second. Rockies obviously are up. It looks like the snow has settled down a bit. It's still cold though. I stayed till the end last night. I was pretty uncomfortable, but I wasn't miserable.
Oh, dang. I'm going to wait till at least the month of May before I go to a game. Yeah. How many people have been to games at Coors Field already? Okay. All right. Well, God bless y'all.
Hey, Paul, can I make a quick comment about that also? I mean, just the whole idea of the experience of coming down to the ballpark. Within the next couple of weeks, hopefully the weather will start to mitigate a little bit and people will feel a little bit more comfortable about coming down for a game. But I've worked 2 games already this year. That's all. And I can't emphasize enough, if you aren't already, be a little bit familiar with the digital ticketing process before you come down. It's working out. It's really working out very well. If you come down and purchase a ticket on game day, we can text you your ticket. You don't have to have the ballpark app or anything like that on game day. But you come down, and if you purchase a ticket any other time, you're going to have that MLB app and have your account with the Rockies and to be able to sync those up so that you can get your tickets. So I have printed 1 ticket so far this year, simply because there was no other way to split a pair. So be sure you know a little bit of something about it before you. And the other thing is, there's a fee on everything this year. It used to be you could come down to the ballpark and buy your ticket at the window to avoid paying any of the fees. They're putting the fees on everything now because the processing is so much more complicated, at least for the short term anyway. I think that may end eventually, but so there's no price differential anymore on buying online. And that's, I mean, from the standpoint of convenience, that's a good thing. If you can get the ticket online, just, bite the bullet, go ahead and pay the fee because you're going to pay it anyway. And that way you get it taken care of in advance and you don't have to stand at the window and take care of it. So
that could be a sign of the future, because a lot of teams in the majors are doing electronic tickets for their major league games, for the in-stadium stuff, for the parking, for even the concessions inside ballparks too now. Everything is going electronic these days. Tampa started right before the pandemic, but other teams this year are even the minors are going to be doing it. Many of the minor league teams are going to be doing it as well.
Yeah, Bill, you and Chris both touched on this, but do you anticipate sitting here on April 21st? Do you anticipate this going into the future, like next season in 2022? Are they going to be? Is that going to be more permanent of a system? Or?
Oh, I think so. I mean, certainly if you look at other sports and even other types of events, concerts and things like that, there's a lot of that now where there really isn't much of an alternative. The Broncos moved to that a couple of seasons ago, and it's, I think last year, Jim might be able to help me out on this. He might remember. I think we gave season ticket holders an option to have their tickets printed so they'd get that nice specialty stock, but they had to pay extra to get the tickets printed that way. And so, I mean, that's definitely coming. I expect eventually there's going to be very little alternative. About the only time that we really have to print tickets if there's somebody standing outside the window that's got a flip phone, and they can't get the ticket delivered that way. But so yeah, that's coming, and it's amazingly convenient. I mean, it really is easy to do. It's sort of like learning how to play a new card game. I mean, don't try to learn the rules; just play a few hands and.
Hey, Bill, what's not convenient? What's not convenient is picking our tickets. It is really a pain. You know,
is what now?
Oh, we've got to pick our tickets before it had been every homestand. Yesterday, I had to pick for the month of May. It took me 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I was just going as fast as I could. Knew exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, so. And that's the one aspect of that at least until they figure out a way to do that more conveniently, it's going to continue to be a problem. The other thing is if you are part of a group, you know, if you're coming down, we'll sell a pod of up to 5 for a game. And the direction that we're moving is that they want everybody to have their own ticket coming in the gate. So eventually what's going to happen is the idea of one person having all 5 tickets on their phone and just scrolling across the screen and scanning all 5. We're not going to be seeing that too much more often. They've got kind of a grace period on that, but that's going to be ending. And there's a reason for it. There's definitely a reason for it to do it that way. So you're going to have to become accustomed, even with the digital tickets, you're going to have to become accustomed to transferring the tickets to everybody in your party so that everybody's got their own ticket.
So how is that easier?
I'll tell
you, it's easier for the Rockies.
Yeah, well, if you try to get a single ticket, which I was wholly unsuccessful for, except for 2 games, because I need to sit now for a while in a disabled section. Forget it. You can't get one online. You have to buy 2. And if you call the office, I did it 5 days in a row, and I decided that it wasn't meant to be, so I just watched on TV. Now, I can still buy a single ticket at the Baltimore Orioles or every other ballpark I've been to, but it's really hard to get a single ticket, especially if you need to get it in that section where they humiliate you and ask you, do you really need it? And no, we won't sell it to you. And that made me very happy.
Yeah, they're not legally allowed to ask you that.
Well, that doesn't matter. If they do, they do. And 3 times in a row. And once they said, you know, somebody at the park said, ask for a manager. So I said, okay, that's an idea. So I asked for a manager, and the manager said, and the person on the line said, who told you to ask for a manager? And I said, okay, that was the end. I said, well, thank you very much. You know, Yankees will sell me a single ticket. You know, but I can't go to the
some of that. Some of that's going to mitigate as the capacity of the stadium increases.
No, this was before the capacity. I don't bother trying now because I know you have to do pods. That's understandable. Yeah. But this
I'll tell you what I did last night. I had a couple of customers who wanted a single rock pile seat, and the first one came up. I had no singles available. 2 was the least I had. The second person came up. 3 was the least I had. And so I put in the first case, I put 2 tickets in my cart. In the second case, I put 3 tickets in my cart. Called the manager up at the main ticket office and said, hey, I got 3 tickets in my cart. Kill 2 of those tickets. Kill 2 of those seats. So that they don't get resold, you know, and have people sitting right next to each other who aren't supposed to be sitting right next to each other. And they did it. I mean, when there's a shortage of tickets, they should accommodate you that way. They really should do it. There shouldn't be any question about it.
You created your own pod.
I did. I created my own pod, and it worked out fine. But and you know, I'm hoping that as the capacity does increase, that they're going to push that in the direction of accommodating the lower ticket numbers.
Unfortunately, Bill, this is not about capacity. It's about access, and it's been a problem. It's why I don't go to many games. As many games as I probably would have if I didn't have to use a wheelchair and stuff. So I get Nicolette's point exactly.
Yep.
Thank you. In the case of horrible.
In the case of accessible seating, though, unfortunately, I think what you got to understand is we've got less accessible seating to begin with, and if we're going to manage the spacing requirements in order to have the seating available at all, it's going to cut the accessible seating down. And yes, it's unacceptably low, but there isn't really any alternative if you're going to have it.
Yeah, but this has been prior to any of that stuff. When I had a season ticket, I had one ticket, okay? But I can't go to 82 games. It's kind of ridiculous. And I used to give tickets away so people could, switch them out as a thank you for things they'd done for me. And that wasn't wholly successful. So I thought, well, I'll just go buy a ticket when I'm in town. And this is way before any of this happened. Now, I understand the whole pandemic issue, and I don't even bother trying to get a ticket now because I'm not going to buy 2 or 4 or whatever, especially in accessible seating when the person coming with me isn't going to need accessible seating, and I don't want to take it from somebody who might. But other times, you can't buy 1 ticket. I've been told I can sell you 2, but I can't sell you 1. Many times.
I've been told that also.
Thank you. And I guess,
by the way,
that's horrible. It's just the point.
By the way, just as a matter of policy, by the way, on the idea of having 2 people, but only one of them needs the accessible seat, don't think twice about that. The purpose for having the accessible seating is not to separate 2 people who are going to the game together. If you're, when we get back to any semblance of normal, don't think twice about using a second accessible seat for somebody who is with you. That's what it's for. So.
Well, thank you, but I'll still think twice because nobody that doesn't have to be in accessible seating wants to be there or should be there. I just think that maybe somebody else doesn't get a chance. And who doesn't like baseball?
If you think back to when they first opened the stadium and until they made some adjustments on accessible seating a few years ago, they had accessible seats and then they had companion seats.
Yeah.
I mean, it was clear in the policy, even the way they built the stadium and the way they set up those seating areas, that the purpose was to be able to have the person who was with you sit with you and not have to be separated just because you didn't need the accommodated positioning. So again, I all I can do is advocate for it and say that's the intention, and use it the way it's supposed to be used. So.
Well. Okay. Just to end that discussion on a humorous note, years ago, I was when I was managing the dugout store in Boulder. When you're in a dugout store or when you're selling tickets, you're the face of the ball club, and you are to the general public. So people would come in. I remember the Rockies were going pretty bad back then. It was 1997 or 8, right in there. And a guy came in and he was venting to me, about how bad the Rockies were. And I was defending the Rockies. And finally the guy said, I left a couple of Rockies tickets on my dashboard and someone broke into my car and left 4 more. So that shut me right up. That was the end of the conversation. But
yeah, but they were still going to buy Rockies gear. That's an interesting thing. They didn't like us, but they were going to buy stuff.
That's right. That's the bottom line there.
Yeah, but it's funny.
Making a fashion statement.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, doctor and gentlemen, I think we have reached 2 o'clock in Mountain Time, and the game's on. So I think we should look to wrap this up at this point. And I very much appreciate you joining us today. And many of you participated. That was very good. It was an open, it wasn't focused on one guest, or it was, a rambling, wide open discussion on a lot of topics. And I think that was very useful for us. So
kind of like being at a ball game.
That's right. My God, that's right.
With snow.
With snow, yeah. Okay. So, boy, I remember in 2013, we got 48 inches of snow in April. I just remember that. And I would, that's when I was still working. I was in community affairs, and I come in to the ballpark, and I remember, well, they're not going to make an old guy go out and shovel, because they had clearing this field, and they got everybody out there to shovel snow. There's only 10 people on the grounds crew, but they needed like 100 people to clear the field. And so I figured, well, they're not going to bother old guy about it. So I walked into work, and the first thing I heard at work is, "Hey, Parker, why aren't you out there shoveling?" So I sweated my way through a couple of dress shirts that month, because it happened more than once. And I know we topped off in 2013, May 1st, we topped it off with 10 inches of snow on May 1st. So,
springtime in the Rockies.
What's that? Yeah.
Springtime in the Rockies.
Yes. Okay.
Well, it made for great news in New York. I was out working and couldn't get back. I actually had tickets for some games then. My friends were going, "Wow, you guys are tough in Colorado to watch a game."
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Anything else? Anybody have anything else?
This was great, Paul.
For the good of the audience?
Yeah, it was really fun. Thank you.
Good. Very good. We will be doing it again.
Yay.
I just want to thank everybody, and especially our Secretary Alex Marks, for making this possible. And everybody take care. And if you haven't gotten vaccinated yet, get vaccinated. If you haven't gotten vaccinated fully, keep going. And someday, who knows? Maybe we'll all be meeting back at the ballpark. All right. Everybody take care.
Everybody have a lovely day. Thank you.
See you, everyone.
Bye.